It is the process. It is the process. It is the process. I'm so tired of hearing that. Maybe because I hear it in the same way all the time. It's sort of like, well, what is the process? And I think we all believe that that's inherent, that we just understand what the process is. I believe also, and in the same way, we forget that we're already in a process. That is the hardest realization, going within so we don't go without. The reality that, all right, I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday, and I was asking this person a question, and that person was on their phone. And that person didn't respond to me. And I said, hey, I would appreciate a response because here's what you're doing. And I've said this before, when you don't respond, that is a response. So by you responding, by not responding, you're putting me in a frustrated and conflicted state of you're either focused on me or you're not. And if you're not focused on me in our conversation, I don't need to have this conversation. The key there is you can speak very loudly by not speaking. Silence is a response. No response is a response. The same way that when you don't make a decision, that is a decision. You cannot make the decision to make a decision. And live in that way when all your decisions are predicated off of not really making a decision, then you really lack control of your life because you're still making decisions. You're still waking up. You're still living. The process of your life is still moving. It may not be moving in the direction you want it to move. We can argue that maybe you're kind of sort of going in a circle, in a loop, and where you start is where you end up, and that's never good. You could move in a lot of different directions and wind up exactly where you are, and that's what happens when you make the decision to not make a decision. When we wake up and when we look around, and when I say wake up, it's not just like, oh, wow, it's 3:30, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever time you get up. I'm not even judging what time. I'm not even judging you, period. I'm just speaking the reality and the logic of you woke up and you're in a place. You had an awakening. And when you have your awakening and you look around, you sort of say, I'm here. And you might ramble on in your mind and ruminate off of the decisions that got you to where you are, but you're still there. And you ask yourself the question, how did I get here? It's logical. How did I get here? You got there because you're making the same decisions over and over and over and over and over. An indecision is not to be confused with no decision. Indecision is your decision. To relinquish control and authority over your life is a decision. And we might just start to say, well, I'm just flowing. I'm just taking what life gives me. We start to sort of say and relinquish control that, well, I can't control everything. Life, fate, and destiny. Well, you have an influence on fate and destiny. You have an influence on fate and destiny. We have an influence on fate and destiny with our decision-making processes. And when you make decisions to not make a decision and you relinquish all authority and control, you have no influence over destiny and fate. I was reading just the other day, nothing in life is a coincidence. Nothing in life is a coincidence. And when you have sort of an awakening and you realize you're kind of in this loop, this what I would call a death spiral of making all these moves because we're moving, we know we're moving, we're going places, and we talk about what I wrote down. What has not happened? Same house, same bank account, same job, same community, same circle of really friends, foes, enemies, whatever. It's sort of like Groundhog's Day. It starts to really, if you really awaken to that you're looking around and everything literally feels the same because everything looks the same. Listen to the key words, right? It feels the same because it looks the same. It looks the same because it feels the same because it is the same. And inevitably what happens is emotionally you say, let me shut down to that reality. I don't want to be here. I'm not really good with where I'm at. But if I decide to change it, nothing's gonna happen fast enough, not in the way I really want it. We know that that's true. We try to rationalize the change all the time. It is why day 32 in the month of February, a lot of people who started the new year are right back to where they were when they ended the year. How are you in a new year, in a new month, in a new space and time, but in the same place? When the logic and the reality suggests you made a decision to change. And your decision to change was to revert right back into what you are, which is the process you've already accepted. The decision making you've already become an expert at. The only constant is change. Boom, from Australia. I'm not telling, this is why I'm Cliche Jeff. Why are you Cliche Jeff? Because cliches are important if you really listen to them. They're overdone, but there is nothing, this is what I really believe. I believe this in my soul. There's nothing I'm learning that you can't learn because the answers come automatically to you when you go within. If you don't go within, you go without. The minute you go within, all the answers you seek will be revealed to you. Why? Because it's a remembrance. It is all a remembrance. We've forgotten who we are. We've forgotten who we could be. We've forgotten the power and the authority that we have over ourselves. Why? Because I believe deeply at a spiritual level what I would always refer to and give authority to, which is God. God gave me this authority by instilling in me the creative power of creator. Again, I'm not arrogant and naive enough to say, when I do believe we're all God collectively. Not one of us is any more powerful or greater or the actual source as far as the everything and the isness, but we're a fraction of it. And the fraction of what God gave us in God's image is all we need. Not to be misconstrued with lack on any level or the realization that we're not finite and that we have flaws and that there is going to be some lack from the perspective of there's just some things I'm not good at. But that's also the power of God and creator to say, once you go, and I said this already, if I am God and I release the power of God through creation in me, God goes in search of himself. So when I ask God for a specific lifestyle, when I ask God for a specific reality, when I decide to go create, and I put in the effort, the discipline, the consistency, and the process, while I may not be seeing the change as fast as I want, my energy, my flow, my vibration is pulling like a magnet everything that I need to make the reality I see for myself a reality. It just comes back down to, do you have the intestinal, I forgot the word I was going to, it came out better in my head, but do you have the integrity? That's why we talk about virtuousness. Do you have the patience, the discipline? And this is what it'll always amount to. The reality of the improvement process can be summed up into the cliche line, phrase, and really Australia or any part of the world, the word faith. Do you not have the faith to believe that once you see a life for yourself and you have the audacity and you have the energy and the veracity to say, I'm going to go get it, that it'll come to you? Do you not have the faith to believe that once you release and you delegate the authority of who you are into the authority of everything that is, that it'll come to you? This is why the power of what we have. You want to talk about abundance? Australia, again, somebody is somewhere in the part of the world. That's another thing. Someone is doing right now what you should be doing for yourself that you won't do for yourself. And then you'll see that person do it. That's one thing I got tired of. I'm tired of seeing somebody else get what I want. And I mean that humbly and respectfully, because why? They're just like me. The world has proven, people have proven over eons. This is why I feel so strongly about reading. Go back as far. I read the book about Stoics, Roman times. Go back anywhere in history. People have been doing this. the improvement process, the learning process, the actualization process, the search of God within has always been done. And then it is inevitable. It is inevitable that somebody is writing the book of their life in the way you want to write the book in your life. And then they're going to show it to you because it's all a mirror and all an image and all a reflection, because God in that way also wants to reinforce for you. Just have faith. Look, this person did it. It doesn't matter the trials and tribulations, where you came from, the poverty, the despair, the pain, all of it. There is somebody who has been through all of it, who has gotten exactly what you think you want. And they do all the things that you can do, regardless of what they see. Because what you need is really within. And when you do that and you go through the improvement process, it is guaranteed to you if you only have faith. If you only but have faith. If you want to relinquish control, go ahead and relinquish control. But relinquish control in a way that says, I'm going to do everything I said I was going to do, because I said I was going to do it, because I have the discipline, because I have the focus, the intentionality, and the faith that when I do it, I've already become. And once I become, everything that is always as is. And I will land exactly where I want to go. But I know this for sure also. When I move with intentionality in that way, I get out of the loop. I get out of moving in all kinds of directions and returning to where I started. I can actually move forward. I can actually overcome obstacles. I can actually push through. I can run the hill. I can encounter many, many different friction points and conflict and come through it with resolution. Why? That's my guarantee and my gift. And without that, you talk about what you'll be able to, and I'm going to get into the most powerful thing I've read this week because I think it aligns with what I'm saying right here. What you'll realize is, I talked about, right? What's one of the things I said, right? I feel more happiness and more love. Why? Because the more pain, the more difficulties I go through, the more I realize why I want to be in a state of happiness and love. But without it, I couldn't feel happiness and love. That is the dichotomy of life. That is the gift also of life. That if you just think about it in two ways, there's love and there's fear, and there's derivatives of that. We can see and show and express love in many ways. We can see and show and express fear in many ways. Without the two, I talked about all the time, hate is the protector of love. You need the fear. If it wasn't, we'd just basically be machines. That's not what we are. We have the gift of creation. We have the gift of consciousness. We have the gift of thought. And we put all that together. Holy cow, what is it traditionally? Mind, body, spirit, the Holy Trinity. The id, ego, superego, subconscious, conscious, superconscious. It's said in many different ways. Catholicism, Buddhism, pick a religion, any religion, say God in any way. It all comes back to the same thing. And remember also, when we talk about faith, it requires faith to have the faith to not believe. So even if you want to tell me with great conviction, I don't believe, I applaud you. I applaud you. Why? Because it takes faith to not have faith versus just releasing and pretending as if you have no control in the hopes that because I say I don't have no control and because I say it's fate and destiny and you just never know. And I fear God. Why do you fear God? Why do you fear God? There's no judgment, but there's a reality to when you don't proceed with faith and you just release, well, then you have no authority over the power of who you are in the creation. So that will be returned to you. It will be returned to you. And then you're going to say, it's a tragedy. It's a catastrophe. I'm a victim. I'm not telling you anything that is not how we label things today, because we have to label. This is where we get into the envy, the jealousy, the coveting, the fear derivatives of life. Because we haven't awakened. We stay asleep and we pray. We pray for someone to come save you. No one is coming to save you. But if you remain in a state of waiting to be saved, you will just stay waiting to be saved. When you release a vibration of, come help me, come help me, come help me, I am helpless, you stay and remain helpless. So you can constantly identify with that state of being that you emotionally feel comfortable and secure with. That is the power of when we don't realize what our process is. That is the power of being indecisive about our decisions. That is the power of making a decision to not make a decision. You no longer have authority over yourself and your emotions. So in that way, you vibrate the energy of, come save me. Guess what? No one's going to come save you, because if someone came to save you, you would forget how it felt to want to be saved, and you reinforced through your power of creation to decide, I'm just a person who wants to live emotionally and in my thoughts and in my spirit as somebody who wants to be saved. So God leaves you right there. Why? That's what you told God you wanted. That is the power of free will. God in that way is indifferent towards what you want. God cannot strip you of your authority to be who you want to be. Then you wouldn't have free will. It is your will. What you will, that's what will happen. I'm going to read you something right now, man. Stillness is the Key by Ryan Holiday. A book that is, for me right now, hitting all the spots because this is where I'm at. This is from Epictetus. Epictetus, who was a Stoic. You talk about how this really ties into everything we just got tangential on. Now I'm fired up and ready to go. Now I'm hyped, right? You want some incentive? You want some dopamine? You want some straight motivation crack? That's what you want? I'm going to shoot this right into you. If you can really let this resonate with you, think about the power of these words. Epictetus, Stoic. This is relative to spirit. Spirit, the spirit in you. Spirit. Most of us would be seized with fear if our bodies went numb and would do everything possible to avoid it. Yet, we take no interest at all in the numbing of our souls. Did you just hear those words that again gave me goosebumps that I feel like I just jumped out of my body? Listen to what the man just said. This is someone who was ages ago. We would be seized with fear if our bodies went numb. We would do everything possible to avoid it, yet we take no interest at all in the numbing of our souls. Who have we become? When you become this, I don't want to make this too personal. I'm not judging you. This is not me judging. This is not me casting aspersions or an indictment. This is not me saying that you should do anything different. I don't know what you should do. I don't know what I would do if I were you. I don't know what to offer you. But if you listen to the words, it goes back to the physical understanding and the materialistic stimulation of, if my body went numb. And imagine if your body went numb in public. What would you do if you were on stage and you were walking somewhere and the world was watching and you went numb? You'd freak out. Oh my God. Look at how I look silly. I look stupid. The world's going to hate me. No one's going to even really care. No one, they'll laugh at you. I would probably laugh at you. I would laugh at me. Why? Because that is my greatest fear too. We all fear that. Public exposure and being on stage, one of the greatest fears in life. So if our bodies went numb, especially in a crowd, if you froze up, you would do everything you could. My body, oh. And yet, the soul which reinforces to the body who we want to be, the soul which has all our creative energy, the soul which is really who we are and is on the inside, waiting and yearning and praying for its release. We let it go numb. We let it go numb. We release who our soul wants us to be and why. Because of what it looks like, because of what they might say, because we may not get there, because we might fail. Why do we release and allow our souls to become numb? And then what do we do, and how do we come to that distinction and then overlook it? How do we become unconscious to the numbing of ourselves? It is the acceptance, I believe, therefore, of everything that it is because of everything that it isn't. At some point, we reach a conclusion in our lives, and that is the stasis and the stagnation of sleep. We are awake, certainly, watching, observing, feeling, experiencing, but we are doing so with our souls numb, and therefore can't find the faith and the belief to make the change we know we want to change. Because a little bit of pain, because of the time it'll take, because we can't believe. Choose what you want to do with your life. If it's not to improve every day, don't improve every day. If you don't think you're numb to the soul, there's nothing really for you to worry about. Ignorance, after all, truly is bliss. Change your mind, change your life. I am who I say I am. Do you and stay rich.